Alright, we need to talk about Tokyo Revengers.
Actually, this is the wrong one. Can we get the other one, please? Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
I want to preface this by saying I do enjoy the ride so far, but the ending in itself is something I thought was going to be good. Let's get into it. Let's just go ahead and get into it. Today we're gonna be talking about the Tokyo Revengers ending. I felt like the ending really let the series down. We'll get into why, but I do want to say, if you want me to do something more like this, let me know down in the comments below. Just a little bit different video from what I'm normally doing, but hopefully it all turns out okay. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get some of the boring facts out the way. Tokyo Revengers is a manga series illustrated by Ken Wakui. No, I'm saying that wrong. Apologize for the mispronunciation. It is currently airing the anime right now, which is currently airing the second season. The anime is it's hit or miss for some people. A lot of people like it, but some people don't really like the story, so we'll get into that. Now, when the anime first came out, let's talk about this before we get into the spoilers. Because if you don't want to see spoilers, then I'll let you know when you can cut off and not really get to the ending. Now, the anime came out around April. You know what I'm saying? It came out April 11th, 2021. First episode. Now, the story follows Takemichi. He's basically a guy who's grew up to be a very mediocre person. You know, he had a very exciting life, or at least a decently exciting life with friends and stuff back in his younger years. But as of right now, he's just kind of like your main normal guy. He eventually sees that his childhood crush dies in a very tragic accident with her brother. And of course, you know, he's sad for that, but these are people he don't really know anymore. You know, that was his childhood crush. So he goes to the station to catch a train or whatever it was, but he ends up getting pushed off the train. You know, this is all first episode stuff, so I'm not going to really get into heavy spoilers, but it's definitely like the synopsis and the story of it. Now, when he's pushed in front of this train, or pushed in front of the tracks and the train is coming, he travels exactly 12 years back to the past. We won't really get into what happens in the episode, but just know that that night he ended up saving a boy from bullies. The boy is revealed to be his childhood crush's younger brother. He shakes the kid's hand and it triggers a sort of reaction where he travels back to the future, where he basically sees things have changed and now the brother is alive, but the sister is still dead. Alright, so with that little synopsis out the way, we'll go ahead and start speeding through this. This is going to actually contain spoilers for the story now. If you want to go and click off, you know, I'm leaving this little spoiler warning for you. I'm going to be talking about like the series as a whole. Then we'll get to the ending, which was, you know, very difficult to get into. But if you don't want to see this, then go ahead and click off now. This is officially my spoiler warning. All right. So full disclosure, when I watched that first episode, I was actually so intrigued. Like I said, I watched the race. I love the race. I actually love Steins Gate. I love time travel in anime. If it's done correctly, I love time travel. I feel like this could have been something that would been really interesting, and nobody was really talking about it at the time. So when I watched the first episode, I read completely to where the manga stopped. I was hooked, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm not to say that it was a bad experience after the fact, but it definitely dipped off in quality to me. Now, I'll get to where the actual manga started falling apart in just a second. But this in itself was a really interesting concept. I think this was probably the peak Tokyo Revengers, when he kept going back to the future and realizing that whatever he did was just not working. He kept going back in the past, back in the future, switching back and forth, and it would just seem like it was not working. Hinata kept dying, you know, and it was like they couldn't save her. Regardless, he found out that basically whatever he tried to do, it was like her life was marked and she couldn't be saved. The one thing I liked about this anime is that, you know, yeah, it was larger than life. It was about kids basically being like ridiculously powerful gang members and stuff. And, you know, they really got into like people that was really dangerous, you know what I'm saying? I remember the Hatini brothers and stuff. It's like they would always be the more dangerous gang people around. And the thing about this actual manga though is that if you're not paying attention like very, very acutely, then you can get kind of lost. There's so many characters in this, like in every arc in the manga, there's so many characters that stick around, and the gang of Taman is so big that you would literally be playing catch up. Like, you don't really, by the end of the book, it was so many people on so many different teams. I got so confused into who was who. And eventually I just I seen like a couple of people I knew for sure. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I just ended up focusing on Mikey and Takemichi because it got so confusing later on in the manga with just so many different names and people. And after me like coming back and finishing the manga, it was just a whirlwind of just people that I didn't know, or they would kind of mention in the story a little bit, and then here they are and stuff. And now we're about to get to the ending. I know it's been a long video, but we're about to get to the ending and talk about this real quick. But I will say, like, the actual story beats of Baji dying was interesting because it makes sense. Baji dying made sense. And it would have made for a lot more tragic anime had the ending not did what it did. Mikey's brother being murdered by his friend is a little weird, you know what I'm saying? But it makes a lot of sense. You know what I'm saying? It makes a lot of sense for the way that Mikey is now, the way he's like hardened and stuff. Alright, so it's the ending time. And it's the ending in the last couple chapters. So, if you don't know, if you haven't read the manga, the last, basically, final arc is one big battle against Mikey. Because Mikey is basically now like the Hulk. Like, Takemichi basically saves everybody and goes to the future, is having his dream life where he's getting married to Hinata. And lo and behold, Mikey's the only one that's missing. Where is Mikey? Nobody knows. You know, people know, but he's basically like a big criminal overseas or something like that. And of course, Takemichi being Takemichi is like, I have to save him. I have to sacrifice everybody's happy ending to save Mikey. I'm not mad at it. I mean, it's in Takemichi's character, but at the same time, it was kind of irritating. So he basically goes back in time and have a whole bunch of confusing new gangs and stuff. Now, Mikey is the head of a very powerful new gang and stuff, and Takemichi has to redo Tomon and become the leader to basically take Mikey down, or basically make him wake up to the senses. Now, all this leads to my favorite character in the entire manga dying, Draken. When Draken died, it made me kind of irritated because I feel like, for one, he had a happy life. Now, obviously, the ending retcon things, and we'll get into that, but he had a very happy life. He was very fulfilled and stuff, and you know, he was just murdered because they tried to come back and save Mikey. Mikey had already got a lot of people killed in his life, and it was like they took Draken away again. And you know, not knowing what I know now, it was kind of stupid to me. Fast forward to the final fight. Takemichi gains a new ability to apparently like see his opponent's attacks before they make them. This could have been a game changer if he would have learned it a lot sooner for the actual manga. People hate Takemichi because he literally has no way to fight back. Like, none. Like, he rarely ever fights back. He always just gets beat up, has a speech, and changes people's heart. It's like Naruto with the friendship jutsu thing, talk no jutsu, but like 1,000 times worse because they don't even fight at all. And so as the fight goes on, he's apparently dodging Mikey's kicks, which is supposed to be like the most powerful kicks in the world, you know, considering the way that the manga just done them. Even if he had the ability of foresight, it would be extremely hard to still be able to dodge a kick at whatever speed Mikey was throwing him, but whatever. Mikey reveals to him that his brother was the first actual time leaper. You know, he was the other time leaper. And then he goes to an interesting backstory, which, unpopular opinion right here, hot take, I actually kind of liked that backstory. I hated the way the Dark Impulses thing was done. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it could have been written a little bit better, but I actually liked it. The twist was that his brother was a time leaper, and that's how Takemichi ended up getting the power. It's that if a lot of these things were mentioned in the beginning and kind of fleshed out instead of being like in the final third act, like Takemichi's power, the dark impulses, which they kind of hinted at, like him having the dark impulses, but they didn't really name it, and they didn't really make it a supernatural force until like the very last chapter. Truly atrocious part of this actual anime is the ending. The ending was atrocious. Like, I ain't say atrocious. It was pretty bad though, because it just felt like, I don't know. When you have an anime like Tokyo Revengers, certain stakes are to be made. You know, like even if you don't kill a lot of people in an anime, if you have that type of anime, at least let those side characters stay dead. And Tokyo Revengers had the egregious moment of having Mikey and Takemichi travel back in time to a younger age and they don't really say much. He travels back to a young age, they meet each other, they recognize each other, and then all of a sudden, like, Mikey's not mad no more. I guess just because this is before he got the dark impulses, so it don't count. But I guess the dark power, the dark lore power don't really travel through time, I guess. And it was before he would even have gotten it. So they just run off and they basically say, hey, you know what? We are back in the past again. Now, previously my powers basically stated that I can only go back 12 years. So basically events that would happen couldn't be changed if I messed them up in the past. And that rule in itself kept the anime and the manga fresh, because it's like Baji died and he really wanted to save Baji, but he couldn't, you know what I'm saying? Because he messed up in the past and wasn't able to save Baji. Even Draken dying to a certain extent was like, hey, Draken's not coming back. Only for them to jump back into the time way further and save literally everybody. Literally everybody. Like, this is what I hated about the ending, because it wouldn't have been so bad if they would have saved like all the Tomon members, you know what I'm saying? Stop, what's his name, Pa from going to jail. Save Baji from getting killed. Everybody that was terrible villains that was, you know what I'm saying, very scary in the sense of the manga and very dangerous criminals from the show. Even Hatini brothers, man. Even they got redeemed. And this is absolutely insane. Like, everybody ended up joining Tomon. They basically crushed all the gangs, made friends with everybody, and they had no personal beefs. This whole story makes no sense, because even if they had the ability of foresight where they kind of knew what was going to happen and they kind of used it as an advantage to save everybody. Okay, Maki's brother, the way it should have ended was they saved Maki's brother. Tomon shouldn't have changed. They probably could have saved Draken or Baji or whatever. And I would have been like, yeah, that's kind of still trash. Very prosperous lives. And then the last chapter is basically explaining everybody's life and what they do for a living and stuff when Takemichi's getting married and everything. And it's just like, this is literally like a dream ending. There's no way this anime should have ended, this manga should have ended like this, because, you know what I'm saying, they set a certain bar of stakes and basically just made the whole manga pointless. To say, hey, that moment you were sad about Baji dying, or Emma, or Draken, or whatever, let's just undo all of this. Let's undo all the hate, you know what I'm saying? And let's just all be friends. Let's all be friends and grow up together. And they went through it so fast, it was like, what is really going on right now? I'm not gonna lie, that ending was egregious. The ending was egregious. Takemichi's dream. Everybody's alive, everybody's doing well. Everybody, you know what I'm saying, has great jobs and he's getting married. This is the ending he would dream up in his head. But it shouldn't be the ending that is real. You know what I'm saying? It should be, let Baji die. I love Draken, but let Draken die. If you was gonna make those types of decisions, obviously Draken dying wouldn't have made much sense because he'd already saved everybody else. It would make no sense to literally trade Draken's future to save Mikey. That would make no sense. So obviously they had to bring Draken back. He should have never died in the first place, because him dying made the whole journey pointless until you find out he ends up coming back, which makes everything pointless. But let me know in the comments below, just to end this video, how you felt about the ending. I don't know about that one. I don't know if it was rushed. I don't know if it was just planned and it just kind of fell off. That was definitely something I felt like could have been better initialized. But with that being said, guys, any other manga you want me to review or talk about, let me know in the comments. Let me know about any anime you want me to talk about, let me know in the comments. And I'll see you guys in those comments. やれやれだぜ。